Carl, all set for the final 4 games of the regular season back at the Keepmoat for all of those games. The side doing it a little bit tough at the moment. What are your thoughts on proceedings?
Yeah, listen, Robbie, we were flying, weren't we, in the first round of the season, and I think you've used a real good word there, tough. We're doing it real tough, and that's purely, I could sit here and give 1,000,001 reasons why, but we'll talk about some facts here. Start of the year we lost to Keighley, and then we went on a run and we were flying. We went to London, and COVID's been around everywhere for all the teams, so no excuses from our end, but we went to London and we were doing well with the COVID, and then we came back and we had a bit of an outbreak, so we locked the club down for 12 days. And then we could have pulled the Hunslet game, but the club thought it was a good idea that we spoke as a club and we needed to play. We'd been off 12 days, so we had one training session and captain's run to play Hunslet. Get the game played. We got beat there. Injuries, we've got quite a few injuries that not many people know about, but you look. I'll go through them. Sam Doherty, he's struggling with work, so he can play when he can play and come when he can come. Dougie, he's got a fractured knee. The surgeon told us he'd tried to do his ACL, and what had happened, he'd fractured his knee. Brad Foster's got a groin injury. Wilkinson knee, he needs surgery. Benny Johnson, he's got a knee injury. Watson Boas, we've all just seen he's done his ACL. We just thought that was a minor knee injury until he had his MRI, and the surgeon phoned to say the ACL's completely torn off. So that was a real blow for us. Joseph Fella's stomach, groin, he's out for some time. Messy's broke his arm. We all know about Geordie. Matty was banned last week. And then we started with 28 players, and then you had the likes of Russ left the club and Crossy left the club for their own reasons. Josh Ricketts got a new job and can't make training sessions and can't commit, so he's there. And Harry Carter had the COVID, and then with his work, he got a big job on at work, and he decided he couldn't commit as well, so left the club. So that's where we are. But no excuses. It's the same with everyone. I was speaking with the surgeon who done Watson's knee, and he doesn't know, our situation, our results or anything, and he just asked me how we were getting on with the COVID, and I said we were doing well until we had a bit of an outbreak. And he says, your fitness goes, Carl. The people don't realise fitness just goes, and his mate is a good coach at a top football club, and he said their fittest player had the COVID, and he's been back over a month. He still can't do a 5k. Well, I didn't know the fitness go. I thought we do the COVID, and they do their 10 days off and 7 days gradual return to play, and we're all sweet and good to go, but no one knows. So that's where we are, Robbie. I was speaking to someone else, and another one is you ask yourself the question is, how do you go to North Wales and win 68-0 and then just have a slump, and then they're doing well and beat Barrow, beat Keighley, and the answer I got was that they're probably going through at that time what you're going through now, and you know what, the person knows nothing about rugby league, and they were right, because when we went to North Wales then tried to get the game off the day before, their coach had the COVID, a few of their players had COVID, and fair play to them, they got the game on. We went there and played. So that's where we are. Real tough, but we have to get through it.
Of course, a bit of frustration, I suppose, from supporters that it's not been communicated who's out with COVID, who's out through injury, but the big thing to remember is that we have to respect people's medical issues. If they've got COVID, we're not going to come out and name who's got COVID and who has to isolate. The thing with the North Wales game, when that was called off, if you've got 7 of your 25 first teamers unavailable, that's the facts. We're not going to go out and name who has and who hasn't got COVID. The same with injuries. The head coach would prefer opposition not to know who's injured, so it leaves us in a position where, unless it really is a serious injury, we're not going to come out week by week and say who is and who isn't injured.
That's right, Robbie. But it's tough for everyone this year. It's a real tough gig. We ain't seen the supporters for over a year. I think we had our first home game back against Hunslet, but with the injuries, our coach has his policy on the injuries and don't want to alert or be too public with what they are. If we can get one through after 2 or 3 weeks and we've highlighted it and told everyone what his injury is, a lot of coaches, they go and target that area if the player's playing. So we try to keep them in-house and try to get them back as quick as we can, but we're busted. But so is every other club. I'm not sitting here, it's not my style to make excuses. We put 17 players on the field to play 17 players. One thing, I spoke to the boys on Sunday after the game, and Doncaster Rugby League supporters, and I know them well. When I first came here, we used to get smashed every week. We'd lose 30 points, 40 points. And we'd come off the field and you would have thought we'd won. And this is what I explained to the players. If you go on that field and you put a Don's shirt on, you go and you give it everything you've got in that game, and everyone in the crowd can see with their own eyes you've give everything. That's all we can ask. So my plea to the players was, listen boys, we're doing it tough. It's all right when we're winning, the team spirit's great and stuff like that. You find out about the team spirit when you have the tough times like this. I'll say this now, we've got a great bunch of lads down here, a really, really top bunch of lads at the club. Let's go back to before the COVID, where I think we had 4 games, we just lost to Barrow. I genuinely felt there was a buzz around the place. The supporters were, I think might have said this to you, I was feeling the love off the supporters. There was a real buzz around here. Then we got hit with the COVID. Then obviously we've been off for a year. And we've still got the same players. We went to Keighley, got our backside spanked there, but then we went on a run and everything was going real good, and we thought we'd be coming to these last home games and be challenging, and now we've come to the last home games and we're battling to stay in the playoff place, and that's fact. So it's hard, but I think you might have interviewed me at the start, and I says if we get through this year, after over a year the players being out, well, that's a success. Really, really, really difficult, and it's not excuses. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm making excuses of the performances. We're doing it tough. It's as simple as that.
How important is perspective at this moment in time? There's a few games of the regular season left. When you look at it from a wider picture, you've mentioned the run of unbeaten games, and of course the run recently, which has not been up to standards. The Dons have lost 4 games all year. Only teams that have lost less than that are the top 2 in Barrow and Workington. And I think for example, if you go on and win the final 4 games, and then someone had said to you at the start of the season you'll only lose 4 games all season, you probably would have taken that. Of course, the way it's come about, that you've won a few in a row, you've lost a few in a row, it makes it look slightly worse potentially than it actually is. Yeah,
and there's clubs in this league who've made statements this year and gone out with statements and said what they were going to do, and they're not doing too well as well. Do you know what I mean? But that's where when you digest everything and you come down in this league this year, it's all on the day. It seems to be, it's all on the day. It's like you could probably name your squad on a Tuesday and a Thursday, or the squad you think you're going to have, and then you get to Sunday, 4 or 5 are out. So it's really difficult, and we're not the only club going through it. Every club's been through it. I sound like a broken record, but you know, if I was sitting here as a CEO of a couple of the other clubs in the Championship and in League One, I think they're in a tougher spot than we are for what their predictions and their expectations will probably were from the start. So it's difficult. Like I said, we turn up to one game, and you know, when we went to North Wales, we said on that bus, I'm not sure if you were on there, that we come away from here this week winning 2 to 4 points, we'll be happy, and we come back with a 68-0 win. How? You ask yourself how, and then you ask yourself, what's happened? Why? And you can't, we ain't got the answers. We ain't got the answers, but all we can do, and the players know this, is continue to work hard, stick together, keep that little team spirit we've got going, and hopefully we'll get what we deserve. I always say that, you get what you deserve, but we don't become a bad team overnight. You know, I'd like to think if we didn't have that outbreak, would we still, and the injuries, you know, I think there's players there, I've just met 10 players who from the first half of the year were playing, and we're not even talking about your Geordie Hedgeses and people like that, you know. So to lose one of your key halfbacks in Watson, it was tough for us, you know, when we're having to swap around and Matty gets suspended. It's hard. We played on the weekend with two new halves, a new fullback. It's everyone who knows the game knows that if you've got a good spine and continuity in that spine, you'll be all right.
COVID's had a massive effect, not just on the Dons and League One, but across rugby league in general. There's been an untold amount of games that have been called off this season. Now that the rules have changed slightly in terms of isolation, and if you've been double jabbed, you don't have to isolate as a close contact if you test negative. Could that have a positive effect, and not just for the Dons, like I said, but a wider thing in rugby league, that if one person has got it, you're not necessarily taking another 5 out of the squad, if that makes sense?
Yeah, because we test them on the training every Wednesday, and if one's test positive and then his PCR comes back positive, well then the close contacts are the boys he's been training with. You know, we test first, then they leave, but if they've been in any close contact with any of the boys, that's it. You know, if they've been to have a coffee with them, they're out. So that will certainly help. And we've been waiting for that day to come for ages. You know, a lot of the games probably wouldn't have been off as the close contacts. That is why they're off. But I think we had about 9 who were positive with the PCR, which is the main COVID, and some of them still struggle. But you know, not just that, Robbie. You know, you look at this time of the year, we're normally in full flow of recruitment, retention, of where we're going. So I'll just to give everyone a little update there on the game as well. You know, I've got boys in our team saying, what's happening next year? We don't know. We don't know the structure. We don't know the distribution from at the moment. We're in August, and you know, whether that has an effect on players, I don't know. I'm not using this as any reason why we're losing, but whether that has an effect on the boys, I don't know. But a lot of the other clubs are in the same situation where we can't. You know, we made an offer to Watson that was purely from the club, outside of any restraints. We've been told our distribution from the centre is going to be cut 50%, 75%. We don't know what we're going to get. Once we know, then we can plan our budgets, and we can plan our strategy on players. But you know, our budget, we're normally in the market for player C or D. You know, if there's cuts, we may be in the market for a couple of A or B players. You know, that's just where we are with the Championship and the League One. So I'd like to think, you know, if we get those cuts, that'll come out of the playing budget. But our playing budget should still be okay, whereas some other clubs, the playing budgets will be minute, or they might not even be here. So we can't offer contracts now because if you've got a player on X amount and your money's getting chopped in half, well, the whole player's salaries and contracts through every club is going to take a hit. So you might get that same player who you had on X for X or half of X. We don't know. So for you to go out now and try and plan to re-engage or re-sign players, you could be shooting yourself in the foot. Whereas once you know the structures, the distributions, there's players will become available. Like I said, we've got a good bunch of boys here. They're all young enough, a lot of them, to keep on. And then you've got our experience. You know, losing Missy was a massive blow for us because he was a real influence on the team, I think, within the changing room and within the training. He was a big influence and a big reason of the togetherness of the group. You know, he even said to me, the first club he's been at, that there's no cliques, that all the boys were together, and you know, that was a big statement coming from someone like that. So we have got a good group. It's just I don't know, we working hard. We can't get the boys out of the rut. They have to get themselves out of it. But it's 17 v 17, and I'll say again, if they go on that field and absolutely give everything they've got and come off and know they've given everything got, the supporters will be happy. You know, with the injuries and that, I don't want to sit here and apologise, but that's the head coach's policy. He doesn't want to broadcast what our injuries are, and we have to respect that. That's a big thing from him. He's a good coach. We've got a good coach and we've got a good set of players here, real good. We just need to keep our heads down, work. We need everyone on side with us. The supporters, you know, when these supporters, I don't think they realise, when they do get going on the terraces and that, it does lift the boys, you know. And I'll say it again, before the lockdown, the boys were engaging in all over them, and there was a feel good factor. But this time off's got a lot of bridges to build again, I suppose, because we've all been apart. So it's like when you're in a relationship, you have to give everyone a cuddle and all get back together and go for the goal. But tough year. I did say if we get through the year with minimal disruptions, hats off to everyone. And we can't do anything about the injuries. That's part and parcel of the sport, and we can't use that as an excuse. We can't use the COVID excuse. I say 17 v 17, go out there, smash into them, give them everything you got, and that's all we ask.
Just finally then, a long way of the season still to go. 4 games doesn't seem like many, but a lot can change, as we've seen with North Wales losing 68-0 to the Dons. Many people might have thought that they were done and dusted even at an early stage, but a lot can change in a very short period of time in rugby league, particularly with the win percentage rule rather than actual points.
Yeah, one win can flip our season on its head. We're low on confidence, you know, but we ain't sat here and done nothing about it. I've been badgering the hell out of clubs for players, and they're all in the same boat. They're scared to let them go. Some don't want to let them go in case they have to catch up on all their fixtures. The Super League clubs don't want to let players go because they're going to have 3 games in 10 days. And, you know, I want everyone to know we ain't just sat here and thought we've got these injuries, we're not doing anything about it. Go and call anyone. I'm trying to be best mates again with all the old Super League coaches and all my mates who play in Super League, and all through the when I was in the All Stars, try and ring and say, what do you think? What players at your club could come and help us out? And don't get me wrong, I've had a few that says ring up the coach and ask if you can have this fella or this fella, and next minute they say, oh no, sorry, he's going to be playing for us this week, and you're like, oh. So, but you know, the ones we've brought in, been really impressed with them. You know, Liam Tyndall from Leeds, he's going to be a cracking player. And Sweeting's come in and all good. You know, the boys from Sheffield came to help us, so we're grateful to them. You know, we probably wouldn't have got the Hunslet game on if it wasn't for Sheffield. So, you know, real good, big thanks to them. We'll still keep banging on doors and see if we can get anyone before the season ends. But a lot of clubs, well, like we said, are in the same position. But all we can do is try everything we can and try and patch up one or two that we've got here still, and we're hoping to have a couple back, if not this week, next week. Get a few of our boys back in our system, and we'll be comfortable and we give ourselves a chance, and that's all we ask. But all we ask of the players is go out, put the shirt on and give 150%, just go for it.